valued at $22. Roger made a citizen arrest of the roommate on a charge of 488 of the Penal Code, which is petty theft. The roommate was booked into the jail, subsequently cited and released, and later the case was subsequently referred to the district attorney, who filed a petty theft charge in that case. The third incident occurred April the 30th of 2014, when sheriff's deputies contacted the suspect at his residence following a request to check on his welfare. That request had originated from a family member. The deputies contacted the suspect at the time, found him to be polite and courteous. He downplayed the concerns for his welfare, and the deputies cleared the call. I want to now go into a chronology of the events that occurred last night. We believe we have a fairly good, albeit perhaps somewhat still rough, chronology of the suspect's actions last night. We have identified 10 separate locations where criminal activity took place. In several of those locations, there are actually more than one specific crime scene. But I'm going to go through these locations, refer to them as 1 through 10. You've received a sheet that has a map of Isla Vista with the numerals on that sheet to give you an idea of where the incident, or how the incident unfolded, and where what I'm about to tell you occurred. Location number 1, it appears as though suspect Roger murdered 3 victims within his residence in the 6500 block of Seville Road prior to the shooting rampage that took place last night. The 3 male victims appear to have been repeatedly stabbed. We are still processing that crime scene, and we are still in the process of positively identifying the victims and notifying their next of kin, so I will not have their identities for you at this time. The second location was the beginning of last night's rampage, and that was at the Alpha Phi sorority in the 800 block of Embarcadero del Norte. Several members of this sorority reported hearing loud and aggressive knocking at the front door, which lasted for 1 to 2 minutes. Fortunately, no one opened the door, and shortly afterwards, witnesses reported seeing 3 young women who were standing outside in the vicinity, shot by the suspect from across the street. The victims' names, 2 of those victims were fatally wounded, and 1 thankfully is still alive. The 2 victims who were killed were Catherine Brianne Cooper, a 22-year-old, and Veronica Elizabeth Weiss, a 19-year-old. Both of these young ladies were UCSB students. Those were the 2 who were killed, and the 3rd victim, who is still alive, suffered multiple gunshot wounds. After shooting those victims, the suspect then traveled to location number 3, a nearby delicatessen that's located on Pardal Road. He exited his vehicle, he entered the delicatessen, and he shot and killed 20-year-old Christopher Ross Michael Martinez. That's a double-barrel hyphenated name, Michael Martinez. Mr. Michael Martinez was also a UCSB student. Isla Vista Foot Patrol deputies heard the shooting and responded to investigate the incident. As they arrived at the scene, they witnessed the suspect, who at that time was unknown, fleeing eastbound in his suspect vehicle, a black BMW. The suspect continued toward location number 4 at the top of the loop. where he fired multiple rounds at two people who were on the sidewalk. Now, the suspect drove his vehicle on the wrong side of the road, and it was parallel to the sidewalk when he shot from the driver's window. The suspect continued forward, and he turned southbound onto El Embarcadero, then turned eastbound onto Del Playa to location number 5, where he brandished a handgun at a female victim. The suspect fired additional rounds, turned his vehicle around, and started to travel westbound on Del Playa. A lone sheriff's deputy responding to the area on foot was then taken under fire by the suspect. The sheriff's deputy returned fire, and the suspect drove off westbound on Del Playa. He traveled to location number 6 in the 6600 block of Del Playa, where he struck and injured a bicyclist with his vehicle. The suspect then continued west to Camino del Sur, and he turned northbound onto that road. He proceeded to the intersection with Sabado Tardy, which is location number 7, Camino del Sur and Sabado Tardy road, where he fired multiple shots at pedestrians in the area.